This is a statue of a Bigfoot Sasquatch type, carved Willow Creek, California. This gentleman's about 5'7". I'm 5'11". You can figure that if that thing was here, his head would be up about right here. Okay? There are 4 kinds of hominoids. 4 kinds. We know of 2 in the West primarily. Sasquatch, Bigfoot, this kind. Abominable Snowman, Yeti, and then there are 2 other kinds that are dominant in other parts of the world that we don't know very much about, the Almas and the Agogwes. Okay? Now we're going to go over them. They're pretty much the same except for size. All right. The Bigfoot Sasquatch kind, as you see, 7 to 10 feet tall, 700 to 1,000 pounds on average. The giants, the big ones, the ones you hear the most about. The Abominable Snowman Yeti, man-sized, 5 to 7 feet tall, 300 to 600 pounds, lives exclusively in the Himalayan ranges as far as we know. Taken together, those 5 ranges are as big as the United States, plenty of room to roam, but they are not on all continents. The Bigfoot Sasquatch kind is. The 3rd kind, Almas, the Almas. They are found primarily in the mountains of southern Russia and western China, the Pamirs and the Caucasus, and the Altais and the Tien Shans. But they are also elsewhere in the world, including in the United States. Man-sized again, 5 to 7 feet tall, 300 to 600 pounds. 4th kind, the Agogwes, about 4 feet tall, weigh about 200 pounds, the pygmies of the group. All right? Now, you might remember, ironically, there were 4 Australopithecines, 4 early homos, and what a surprise, there are 4 types, basic types of hominoids. Interesting, isn't it? Now, what they are is this. The Bigfoot Sasquatch kind live in what is called lower montane forests. Now, in mountainous terrain that are covered by trees, and if you've done any flying in the Pacific Northwest, you know what I'm talking about. The lower trees are called lower montane. As you go up, you get into upper montane. The Bigfoot Sasquatch lives in the lower montane. The Abominable Snowman lives in the upper montane forests of the Himalayas. You get the idea, Abominable Snowman, he lives up in the snow. Nobody lives in the snow. There's nothing to eat there. They live in the upper valleys, and you see them occasionally as they cross from one valley to the other by going over a mountain, the snow part of it. Okay, now the Almas also live in the lower montanes, but they're more flexible. They also seem to be the smartest, and this is not to say they're anything like us. They're just very smart animals. The Almas are. I think they're going to prove out to be living Neanderthals. The evidence is strong that the Almas are living Neanderthals. Okay? The Agogwes, the 4th kind, the pygmy kind, live in the jungles of the world. That jungle band that goes through South America, Central Africa, and Indonesia. That area. They, of the 4, have reddish, russet-colored hair, like orangutans, which also live exclusively in jungles around the world. The others have dark browns and blacks, their body hair, covered with hair. Whenever anyone sees them, their characteristics are described consistently the same. Wherever in the world, whatever kind we're looking at, when the person sees it, and frequently this is some very, very isolated native who doesn't even know that the rest of the world is out there, much less that these things are seen on other continents. And when they describe them, they always describe them the same way. They say, no forehead, huge brow ridges, big, round, deep-set eyes, big, flat nose, although this one isn't so big, but big, flat nose up against their face, mouth sticking off their face, no chin, head tucked down into their torso, very long arms dangling around their knees, very thick, muscular, robust bodies, and covered with hair from head to toe. Now, take away the hair, and what did I just describe to you to a T? The prehumans. Am I right? You saw the skeletons. You saw the bones. The prehumans. What does this lead us to believe? The prehumans are the hominoids. The hominoids are the prehumans. The prehumans are the prehominoids. It's their ancestors, not ours. It's clear to anybody that will look at the evidence. The so-called prehumans are, in fact, prehominoids. Now, it's easy for me to stand up here and say this. What's the proof? Well, let's start right here with their feet. They leave tracks. All around the world, they leave tracks. We have upwards of 10,000 or more photographed, plaster casted, or both. No question about it. And guess what? They're all fakes. All of them. Every one of them is a fake. Problem being, it's not that they are really in fact fakes. They just can't be real. They can't be real because not only is Darwin a blowed up peckerwood, all of his followers are. And they don't want to be that. So these cannot be real even though they are. Now, is it possible that they could all be fakes? All these tracks could be fakes? Could they fool everybody? No. Why? Because we know a lot about it. Let's take a look. There's a science called ichnology. And what an ichnologist does is he studies the tracks left in fossils by creatures going millions of years back. Show them a fossil, they can look at a print or a track or anything. They can tell you what made it. There's a whole science to it. If you go back into prehistory, all of our primitive tribes, the one thing you had to pass on to your children was how to read the tracks in the area and know what they were, so that they could feed their family out of the environment and so they could keep from feeding some wild animal's family. Very important. If you took everything we knew about, remember Tonto and those Indians, boy, they could just smell a track and tell you 20 things about what made it. We know about tracks. And this is two of the basic things we know. That when any living fleshy foot, like a human foot or a hominoid foot or even a camel pad, it doesn't matter, makes a track, puts a track down, the subtle interaction of bones in the foot, in our case it's 26 bones, 33 joints, dozens of muscles, ligaments, and tendons, makes a very subtle movement and lays it down in a very specific way from the midline out. And so it leaves a distinctive print with little lines in here called compression lines. Next slide. When you do it with a fake foot, you don't get that subtlety of movement because there's no sequential parts to a fake foot. If you're missing a foot and you need a prosthesis, you're going to get just a dull stiff foot. We cannot duplicate anything even close to it. Anything even close to a real foot. So whether this is plaster or rubber or plastic or wood, it doesn't matter. If you're making a fake foot, it's going to be of a piece, and so when you put it down into the medium, you have to stamp it or press it as a whole, and in doing so, you get a very distinctive look to that, and it's a little ridge here with cracks on the top and the outside that's an impact ridge. So we have compression lines and impact ridges. Now, I can give this little lesson to a class of first graders, lay down a bunch of tracks here, real and fake, give them a magnifying glass, and they will not miss one. They will not miss one. Now, forest rangers that make their living out telling you, bear, elk, zebra, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, they can tell you what it is. And no anthropologist will question their expertise. But if they see a hominoid track and they say, boy, that looks real to me too, the anthropologists say, well, you don't know what you're talking about there. You don't know what you're talking about there. That one's fake. You're wrong there. See how absurd it is? And for the most part, you believe it because you don't expect them to lie to you. You don't expect them to have an agenda that they're maintaining. But they do, and keep it in mind. Okay, next slide. All right, this is the way a human foot works. Looks and works. This is, of course, a good foot, not a flat foot. This is a typical human foot with an arch. When we come down on our heel, we have to swing our momentum around the arch, then cut it over into the ball, which will regenerate some of the lost momentum, and then we come out thrusting off of our big toe. That's how we walk. Our smaller toes pull up and act as balancers. If you notice your feet tonight when you walk around, notice how that works. Your big toe will go down, your other toes will pull up, and it will leave in making a medium, an undisturbed ridge of medium here, in making a track rather, an undisturbed ridge of medium right here, but this, of course, will be squashed. Very distinctive print, no question about it. Now, guess what? We walk badly, badly. When you do time and motion studies of us walking, we're keeling around as we're swinging our momentum through our feet. We're locking our knees. We're basically throwing ourselves through our hips. That's why our joints wear out as we age. Our knees and our hips. We're using them badly. We walk badly. Whoever designed us needed to go back to the drawing board a couple of times more. They got lazy. It was a mistake. Okay, with that in mind, next slide. Let's take a look at a hominoid track. Typical hominoid track. This is Bigfoot, 16 inches long, but taken in that really nice powdery dirt you get at the end of a hot summer, so it's a very clear, distinct print. Notice, if you will, the differences. We have a midline about right here, ankle shifted very far forward, heel extended back here and very much widened, forefoot shortened very much and widened, all 5 toes looking about the same shape, ironically, square, and all 5 toes acting as balancers, because you have medium all the way through here. So you're getting the forefoot thrust coming out completely of the ball area, which is dented in, and it's like a 2-part motion, sort of. So they have a completely different foot. It's a completely redesigned foot. Why? Completely redesigned creature. Much bulkier, much heavier, much denser, much more robust. So you need a different kind of foot. No arch is going to support that kind of weight, so you have no arch. Now, the funny thing about most real, quote, fake tracks is that the local yokels who make them make big human footprints and go out stamping those around. So, you know, immediately, they don't even have sense enough to know you got to do it, make a completely different foot. But the main thing to notice here is, remember, in our motion, we walk here, we go here, we do this, and we're very awkward. Look at the line of thrust here. Straight shot. What does this tell us? He walks right. He does it better than us. He does it the way it's supposed to be done. He or she does it the way it's supposed to be done. Isn't that interesting? Next slide. Okay, this is something else that the best hominoid tracks have. Dermal ridges. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but dermal ridges are your fingerprints on your feet. Fingerprints on your feet. This is why they take a baby's footprint when it's born. Finger's too small to deal with, just stick its foot on. Same thing. Individual, unique. Dermal ridges. And there you... Oh, I think my battery's running out. Oh, no. No, when I put it down here, it goes out. I may need a replacement part here if anybody's got one. Yeah, I know, but I think it's just because I shook the battery a little bit. All right, anyway, point is that whoever's faking these things out around the world, thousands of them, is taking the trouble to make articulating feet that if they would just put on the market, they could make a fortune in the prosthetics industry. And then they're taking the trouble to incise dermal ridges when lasers would have a hard time doing this. I mean, criminals, if this was easy to do, criminals would get their fingerprints fixed, would they not? Instead of cutting them off. Lasers really couldn't do this kind of work, I don't believe. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. No, I got it. I'm going to go with this one for now. Okay. So, you with me? It's a conspiracy to end all conspiracies, this making the hominoid track conspiracies. What I'm trying to get you to see is that is in fact absurdity piled on absurdity that they're asking you to believe. And again, for the most part, you do believe that. Most people who came in here today probably believed everything that the tabloids have to say about the hominoids. Problem being, if the hominoids are real, what does it mean? We are off the flowchart of natural life on Earth, and they don't want that to happen. Neither science nor religion. So in this instance, they hold hands and walk down the path together.